On the morning of November 19, 1978, a satellite flew over a remote jungle in Guyana, South America. From above, it looked like a small village, neat rows of buildings, a central pavilion, a garden. But on the ground, 909 people were dead, not murdered by a foreign army, not by disease, not by accident, by a single man, a man who convinced them that dying was the right thing to do. His name was Jim Jones, and today we're going to understand exactly how he did it. Not because the story is dark, but because the psychological mechanisms he used are still being used right now on people just like you and me. James Warren Jones was born in 1931 in a small town in Indiana called Crete. He was not born into power. He was born into poverty, instability, and a home that didn't quite work. His father was distant. His mother worked constantly. Young Jim was largely left alone, and in that loneliness he found two things that would define the rest of his life: religion and the feeling of being needed. As a teenager, he would hold mock sermons for the neighborhood kids, funerals for dead animals. He was obsessed with the ritual of it, the theater of belief. He had a gift for reading a room, for knowing what people needed to hear. And here's the first lesson in dark psychology. The most dangerous manipulators don't start out evil, they start out needed. In the 1950s, Jones became a pastor in Indianapolis, and he did something radical for the time. He integrated his church, black and white congregants together in the American South. People were drawn to him. He was charismatic, passionate, and he seemed genuinely righteous. He fed the poor. He advocated for civil rights. He helped people find housing. Jim Jones in the 1950s looked like a hero. By the 1960s, Jones had built something he called the People's Temple. Thousands of followers, multiple cities, political connections, senators, governors, they all courted him because of the community he commanded. But something was shifting behind the scenes. Jones began staging fake healings. He would plant people in the crowd who would stand up, weeping, claiming he had cured their cancer. He had staff retrieve tissue from trash cans and present it as tumors removed by the power of God. He built a surveillance network inside the church. Members were required to confess their sins, not to God, but to Jones in writing. Those confessions were filed, kept, used. This is a textbook cult psychology technique called loaded language and information control. When the leader controls what information enters and leaves the group, he controls reality itself. Members didn't know what the outside world thought of Jones because Jones told them what to think. And here's the sinister genius of it. By the time his followers had confessed their deepest secrets, their affairs, their fears, their shames, they were committed. Psychologists call this commitment and consistency bias. Once we've publicly stated our belief in something, we will defend it, even against evidence. Leaving Jones wouldn't just mean leaving a church. It would mean admitting you'd been wrong about everything. In 1977, Jones moved the entire operation to South America, 600 miles into the Guyanese jungle. He built a settlement he called Jonestown. He sold it to his followers as a paradise, a socialist utopia, away from the racism and capitalism of America. Many sold their homes, gave their savings, left their families, and moved. What they found was not paradise. It was isolated. It was brutal. People worked 16-hour days in jungle heat. Food was scarce. Mail was intercepted. Guards patrolled the perimeter. And at night, Jones would broadcast his voice on loudspeakers across the camp for hours, rambling, paranoid, drug-fueled sermons. Isolation is one of the most powerful weapons a manipulator has. When you remove someone from their support network, their friends, their family, familiar surroundings, you remove the mirrors they use to see themselves clearly. The only reflection left is the one the manipulator holds up. Jones also used something psychologists call manufactured fear. He told his followers that the CIA was watching them, that the US government wanted to destroy them, that enemies were everywhere. When you believe the outside world is dangerous, the inside, no matter how bad, feels safer. On November 18, 1978, A U.S. congressman named Leo Ryan flew to Jonestown to investigate reports of abuse. Some members, emboldened by his presence, tried to leave with him. Jones had them shot at the airstrip. He knew it was over. That evening, Jones gathered his followers in the central pavilion. He told them the time had come for what he called revolutionary suicide. A vat of punch mixed with cyanide, sedatives, and potassium chloride was prepared. Most drank it willingly. Some were injected, some resisted and were held down. Children went first. In less than an hour, 909 people were dead, including 303 children. Jim Jones died of a gunshot wound to the head. So how does a man convince 900 people to die? He didn't do it in one day. He did it over decades, one small surrender at a time. The psychology of Jonestown is not about monsters and victims. It's about 6 mechanisms that work on all of us. 1. Being needed first, then being followed. Trust is built before control begins. Manipulators give before they take. 2. Commitment and consistency. Once you've publicly committed, your mind protects the decision, even bad ones. 3. Information control. Whoever controls what you hear, controls what you believe. 4. Isolation. Remove the mirrors, and the manipulator becomes the only reflection you have. 5. Manufactured fear. Make the outside world dangerous and the inside, however toxic and feels like safety. 6. Gradual escalation. No one joins a death cult, they join a community. Then, step by step, the unthinkable becomes normal. These 6 mechanisms don't only show up in cults, they show up in controlling relationships, in toxic workplaces, in political movements, in online communities. Understanding them is not just history, it's self-defense. If this video made you think differently about how influence works, you're already more protected than you were 11 minutes ago. That's what this channel is about. Real stories, real psychology, things that actually matter. Next week we're looking at Elizabeth Holmes and the one psychological trait that let her fool the smartest people in Silicon Valley. Subscribe so you don't miss it.